Hello, sports collectors, wrestling fans. This is Tom here from CollectAWrestlePalooza. Thank you for clicking on this video. Welcome back to the channel if you've been here before. This week we're doing the top 5 prices paid for pro wrestling posters. The reason I chose to look at poster prices is because I think that nostalgia is making a comeback and people are yearning for a time when they could pick something up and look at it. Physical media, anything that's hard, anything that's not digital, is making a comeback, particularly in collecting. I've been selling VHS and tapes in my eBay shop, and posters is an interesting category because it can advertise pay-per-views and events and things like that, but it could also just be something you had on your bedroom wall. But either way, it's physical media, it's physical advertisement, and we're gonna see what prices people paid.
CollectAWrestlePalooza, CollectAWrestlePalooza.
But let's go over the criteria for this video first. I only look at eBay auctions in my top 5s because eBay is the biggest auction house there is, and auctions lend the best price transparency. You can tell what someone actually paid, and they're indicative of the real market for these collectibles. I'm not including anything that's autographed because if I did, that would be its own category in and of itself, and I want to see if the prices paid were because of the actual poster artifact and not necessarily because of this signature upon it. And finally, these are going to be recent sales. I just went into eBay, filtered pro wrestling posters, looked at highest prices paid, so they're going to be sales from the last few months. Let's start with a special mention here. I did not include this on the top 5 because it is signed and therefore breaks the criteria, but when I went through and was filtering out, I couldn't do a top 5 list without including it because it is so dang cool. Look at this. This is ECW Hardcore Wrestling Barely Legal, advertising the first pay-per-view on April 13th, 1997 from the Hardcore Arena, the ECW Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And you can see this is Tazz and Sabu. They have both signed the poster, and it is just from a time when indie wrestling, ECW, was not a big thing at this point. It was trying to get its foot in the door, and you can see it all over the poster with the different fonts. It's, you know, out of focus, dark photograph. This looks like it was made in Tommy Dreamer's basement, and in fact, it may have been made in Tommy Dreamer's basement. I think at the time, he and Bubba Ray Dudley maybe were doing most of the print media and the t-shirts for the ECW. Paul Heyman was famously the puppet master and got all of the superstars to gladly contribute and chip in and make this thing run. So it's an artifact of the entrepreneurial spirit of ECW, that energy, that time, the advent of hardcore wrestling is a real thing. I just thought it was a really special object and something I wanted to include in the top 5. So this week it comes in, it's $277 at auction, 1997, ECW Barely Legal. And number 5 on this list is a vintage wrestling poster. I don't know what year it's from. I'm guessing sometime maybe in the 1950s. I was surprised to see this one sell for $225. The only reason is because I used to buy vintage wrestling posters. In fact, if you look back in the archives of videos on this channel, you're gonna find a wrestling mailbag special as one of the first 3 to 5 videos I ever posted. I was buying these old posters from the 50s and 60s, and I wasn't spending much money on them, I can tell you that. And to see them now selling for $225, I don't know if this is a flash in the pan or if that's the going rate for this style poster now. If you do know the market, please leave a comment and let us know. There didn't seem to be anything significant about this one. Gypsy Joe and Nature Boy Ricco are the featured main eventers, as well as the lady wrestlers Candy Carroll and Alma Mills. Maybe there's something special about these particular superstars that I'm not aware. Again, leave a comment and let us know. From Wednesday, February 16th at 8:30 p.m. I don't know if you can see the price. Yeah, at the bottom of the poster, you can see reserved seating's $1.50. General admission is $1. Children are 50 cents. So that was about the going rate for tickets back then. Gypsy Joe is legendary as a wrestler. I think that he was the guy that New Jack beat up. So Gypsy Joe was famous for being able to take a lot of punishment and keep going and no selling. That was his thing, if that's the same wrestler I'm thinking of. But anyway, this is a vintage poster. It looks pretty cool. I'd certainly like to have it in my den. $225. Number 4 is an authentic Bret Hart WWF catalog poster. I love this. I just love that. I remember as a kid going through the WWF magazine and the WWF programs and looking at all the merchandise, and posters was certainly something that they featured in those magazines. You could get t-shirts, you could get posters, you could get foam hands, some action figures, I guess, in the form of dolls and things like that, but maybe it was the Pillow Fighters, or I think Bret Hart had a little teddy bear. Maybe they didn't do action figures per se, but all kinds of different things you could get in those catalogs, posters being no exception. So it's great to see those hold some value. Look at the excellence of execution there, looking cool with his silver sunglasses. Everyone that's a kid remembers wanting to get one of those to wear around, and then the few kids that had parents that would buy them up the authentic Bret Hart sunglasses would go around the schoolyard with the sunglasses being too big for their head, but them thinking they looked really, really cool. I love the all over pink on this poster, just aesthetically. It has a really nice feel to it. I love the Hitman font. Just a really cool object from that time period. Brings about a ton of nostalgia, and no bigger star than the excellence of execution. It'll be interesting to see Bret Hart prices. Maybe they're going to start going up because he is on WWE Raw now and is making a comeback. Really be fun to see what happens with the Hitman here. But this poster sold for $233. Number 3 is an advertisement for Only on Pay-Per-View, the 1992 Survivor Series. I wonder where they would hang this poster. My guess is at the cable company when you'd go in and you'd get your box for either subscribing to cable or maybe for paying your bill. In the old days, they'd have posters of the new events coming up on pay-per-view if you wanted to add that to your subscription. So this is the 1992 Survivor Series. Looks to be in pretty good shape. It's got Ric Flair, it's got Ramon, Macho Man, the Ultimate Warrior, the only I guess it does have, I was going to say the only superstar from that time that it didn't have is the Undertaker, but you can see that he's not even a main carder yet. The Undertaker started in the Federation at 91, 92 would have been when he started to come into prominence and really get the pops. He is facing Kamala in the famous Coffin match. If I remember correctly, they built an ultra large coffin for Kamala. What a great gimmick. And then famously Big Boss Man versus Nailz. We all love Nailz, or I love Nailz anyway, just because there's so many cool wrestling stories around that superstar. And he was legit scary for the time too. I remember Big Boss Man was legit scary when he was a heel because he'd actually nightstick people. And then Nailz came in and beat the junk out of Big Boss Man. And you're like, man, this guy can beat up the prison guard. You know, he must be scary. So anyway, lots of cool memories from that time. This is a great poster. Love the aesthetics, love the black background, and the purple at top is really kind of referencing what the Undertaker would become. That's what it reminds me of. And either way, I'd love to know the size of it. I'm guessing it was a smaller poster because I don't think they would design these big to be at the cable company, but it did sell at auction for $243. And number 2 is another vintage looking poster, but this one's from the 1980s. And the reason I think that this one sold for $255 is because it features the great Hulk Hogan. And he's actually not even in the top main event. It's a double main event with Ken Patera and Pat Patterson, who were two of the biggest stars from that time, in their Intercontinental Championship match. And they're facing against Hulk Hogan versus Dominique DeNucci for the top spots there, and it looks like Ken Patera and Pat Patterson actually won that top spot because they're at the top of the poster. But Hulk Hogan's name is right in the middle. He is coming of age at this point in his career. 1982, 83 would be where I'd guess that this event is from. Pre-WWF, pre-WrestleMania 1. This is back in the territory days. I think that Hogan was probably in the AWA around this time, but but maybe it's even pre-AWA. I don't know the exact calendar of events in his career. If you do know, leave a comment and let us know. But this is Thursday, March 27th at 8 p.m. I don't think I have the prices for the tickets on the poster. You can't really see them, but this was at a high school. This was just an armory type event in New Jersey. And this poster sold for $255 at auction. And number one this week is an Ultimate WrestleMania 5, the Mega Powers Explode poster. I love this. It's advertising the event on Mega Screen Closed Circuit. Back in the day, they would sell tickets and they would show these wrestling events on a big screen, either in a movie theater or at an arena, and you could pay to watch it with other people on the big screen as it happened. This was pre-pay-per-view, or maybe it was at the same time as pay-per-view and another viewing option, but the first few WrestleManias always had a closed circuit option. So I love that this poster is not only from one of the best WrestleManias with two of the biggest superstars of all time, but also it is referencing that particular way of digesting professional wrestling. I don't know if they did closed circuit for many other types of events, but it was pretty big in wrestling at this time. And the other thing I love about this poster is I think that those are artists' representations of the Macho Man and Hulk Hogan. I don't think that those are photographs. I do love the VHS for WrestleMania 5, the front cover when they're really doing this explosion for the Mega Powers exploding. Again, two of the biggest superstars. I think that they were trying to pave way for Macho Man to take the proverbial torch from Hulk Hogan and be the next superstar to run as the big face of the event, face of the federation, but that didn't really happen, at least in the same way that I think they thought that it could, and Hulk Hogan came back. WrestleMania's, 6 was when he faced Ultimate Warrior, tried to give the torch to him, and then, 7 and 8, and we don't know how much of that was Hulk Hogan not wanting to leave and how much of that was Vince McMahon not wanting Hulk Hogan to leave. So anyway, for all those reasons, this is really a great historical artifact in the history of professional wrestling, which is why it sold for $405. And that does it for this week. Thank you for watching. What are you guys collecting? Leave some comments. Let us know. Don't forget to check out my eBay shop, CollectAWrestlePalooza. Also, I am offering a Patreon now. If you are a Patreon member and you subscribe for $5 a month, you can get 10% off your eBay purchases. So if you're thinking about buying something off my eBay shop anyway, it may not be bad to click on and get set up with Patreon, and that way you'll save yourself some money. Give me a like, give me a subscription, always appreciated, but more than anything, be good to each other. Happy collecting. Peace.
CollectAWrestlePalooza. CollectAWrestlePalooza.